Welcome to the Ladder Lab. We're the Ladder Lab ladies, a mom-daughter duo, and our mission is to empower people to level up in their careers. We provide proven frameworks to turn crisis into opportunities. My name is Sheila Harrell.
And I'm Sheila Harrell, and today we're so glad you've joined us. We want to talk to you today about comparison. Have you ever found yourself comparing to someone else that you think you want to follow in their footsteps? Maybe after our discussion today, you might change your mind.
I've definitely heard this from my peers and people that I've been coaching. And here's a quote from one of them. My peers seem to be progressing. Why am I being left behind? I believe this feeling that people are saying, that where that quote stemmed from, is a lot from social media. You're seeing these people who are posting perfect realizations of their life, but you're not seeing the steps it took and how tough it was to get to that point. And how life is really a roller coaster. You're just seeing the end product. I think, too, that there's a healthy level of comparison to where it can be inspirational, but also can be negative where it takes you down a path too much to where it's taking you backwards and you start questioning yourself when you know who you really are and you're the main character of your life.
You know, when she was talking about a healthy level, I agree, but I think, as she said earlier, this whole onset of social media, most young people find themselves in a mode of comparing to what other people are doing. And sometimes what I have learned after coaching many people, that what they're showing you on this camera may not be exactly what's going on behind the scenes. But I want to say something. When you look at comparison, you've got to be real careful. I think back to when I first started at FedEx and the chairman continued to speak with us about the fact that we were never to compare ourselves to another company. And if you think about companies, it's a brand. You're a brand. Yeah. Who you are, what you're marketing to this marketplace is a brand. And people are looking at you as to what you bring to this marketplace, not what you bring to this marketplace that fits within a mold like everyone else. So he constantly said to us, we are FedEx. We are not FedEx trying to be like UPS, FedEx trying to be like Amazon, FedEx trying to be like DHL or the post office. We are FedEx. So what makes us different? I would challenge this idea of a healthy comparison as make that a minimal part of the way you look at comparison. Yeah. So you agree with this?
Absolutely, yeah. In my time I did a little work at Amazon and at AWS, they focused mainly on what they brought to the marketplace. It was their value proposition. That's right. And they always said, don't look at other companies as just what you described with FedEx. They didn't look at the competition. So that's why, and I think it contributes to a lot of their success. But a lot of other companies, when you notice they start declining, it's also because they're looking at the competition. There's a scarcity mindset, really, where they don't know who they are because they start questioning based on what the success of other companies. So.
And you're right. You said when we started this that many times what you see as the end game on the camera is not the steps that it took to get to that end game. So if you're focusing on the end game, you're leaving out many steps that got to that end game.
And you have to go through those steps because that will lead you in the right direction. Each step that you take will either tell you that's not what you're interested in or you learn from it. There's always something to learn from that, but that journey is how you get to the destination.
Which truly is, it shifts your mind. So definitely. If you have a goal, that's your goal, and you take steps to move toward that goal, and you reach that goal, what you've done is shifted your own mind to gain where you want to go, not where someone else was. You can use a comparison of where that other person is as what you like and what you don't like, but then throw out the pieces that you don't like. I have found in my career that when an individual comes in with a new idea, not one that they have curated from several existing ideas, but one that is new and from their perspective, and they know in their heart how they're going to get there. They can articulate how they're going to get there. Usually, I'm going to trust them with the capability of stepping into that new perspective because they can articulate it very well. You can only articulate well what's in your soul. But I do want to tell you this. Once you get to that new level and that opportunity, look for that new devil, as I've heard a speaker say one time, new level, new devil. At every progression point, there is crisis points, there's struggles, because you're working through another new level. That's the way progression works. So comparison, I would challenge you to go toward progression.
So it's time to take radical ownership of your own growth and step into the new level, not in comparison to other people, unless it's inspirational, as we've described here. I do want to mention here, I think it's important to know, as you start to compare, it's really understanding the future. Where are we headed? What are the new jobs? And the latest jobs report actually just came out. We've got it right here.
Look how thick this thing is. It's huge.
And the largest jobs from 2025 to 2030, the fastest growing jobs: farmers, agriculture workers, delivery service drivers, software application developers with the onset of AI, nursing, construction builders, food processing, and engineering roles, and then people in secondary and higher educational positions. So we'll be talking a lot more about this, so stay tuned, stick around, because this will be something that we'll be diving more into in the future. But this indicates that the top growth of industries will be healthcare, tech, and manufacturing.
And so when you look at these job functions she just named that are within this report, interestingly enough, I ran strategic planning, and I must tell you, usually our reports were 10 years out. This is a 5-year report. That means over the next 5 years, change is going to be dramatic. You're already feeling it. You're feeling it in the workplace right now. I'm feeling it. So we want you prepared. And that's why we don't want you bogged down in comparison. Mm-hmm. We'll be talking more about this in videos ahead, so stay with us. But for today, let's think about what they should do to prepare to get themselves out of that comparison mindset.
Yeah, well, first I'm going to say you're going to get out your notebook and you're going to put that phone away. We're not going to be comparing other people. We're going to sit in a quiet place, and it's time to focus on you. So there's some stuff that you can take to navigate the negative comparison mindset. And number one, you have to know your values. And I know you've got some cards that...
Yes, we'll link this in the video below, but Paul Stokes started a company, and he has, it's called Peak Performance, and he has a deck of cards that you can order on Amazon. That's a game you can play with yourself to determine value words. We'll talk about this. We're going to do a video on values in the future. But for today, if you want to order that, that'd be great. Or just go online and look up value words. Find 5 words that describe what you value today. For example, one of the things I really value today is fun. I want to have fun in my life today, so I make decisions around having fun. You find your value words so that you know what's driving your soul and makes you happy. Yeah. So I think that's a starting point.
I definitely think so too. And building off of that, once you've written those down, now it's time to determine your purpose and your overall story. And I want to mention here that the older way of thinking, and I just think this is your era, where you would be in a career and this trajectory is just this one-way ladder. You're going straight up. When in reality, now it's changed. And people are jumping from job to job, and that's okay. It's, you spend 2 years at a job and then you move around. But that hopping leads to a lot of noise, a lot of confusion. And I think that at the end of the day, if you are able to take a step back and figure out your overall purpose, what connects those jobs? What are those skill sets that you've seen throughout each of those that make your overall story? For me, it's always been value positioning, giving companies value, and that has been across all diverse roles that I've ever been in, companies that I've worked for.
And for me, what I've learned throughout my many years of being in the workforce is that my driving value is really helping others succeed. So if you can find that point, it doesn't matter what jobs I've had, I find myself adhering to that mission in everything that I do. So think about that. While you're sitting quietly alone, think about that particular concept for yourself. And then I think, this is real important, build some healthy habits right now to stop the comparison and start thinking about yourself. So we've said establish your values, why you're making the decisions you are. Second thing is build your purpose. Third thing is building some healthy non-comparison habits. And here's some that I would do, LC. First of all, say to yourself every day, I get up and say, Sheila, you're great. I do.
High five yourself in the mirror.
Really, that may sound silly, but believing in yourself is a big thing. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So healthy respect for yourself. Another thing is you talked about staying in your same lane. Social media will take you all over the board. Finding that lane that lets you stay in, that builds that thread that we're talking about, where you're going to build out a story that makes sense. That if you're telling your story, why you went from job to job, there's an actual thread that runs through those jobs.
And before you jump to the last one, I think it's subliminal messaging throughout the day that you're telling yourself. When you know these things and you repeat them every morning, you'll remember them throughout the day. No matter what you're doing, you know why you're doing it.
Yeah. And the last thing I would say, I do two things every week. I get up every morning and I say I'm going to do one thing that is going to move me closer to my intended goal. So my goal is to help you succeed. This is why we're producing the Ladder Lab. We just want you to be successful. So if I'm going to step into that, I'm going to do things that's going to help me help you get to where you're going. Therefore, if it's just read an article today that that gives me more information of what's going on in the marketplace, or if it's to interview a person, make a call to a person who is working in the workforce and is seeing change in the workforce. If it is meeting with a banker like I did today to learn about how to start a new business for you entrepreneurs out there. Whatever it is, find one thing that you will do today. Doesn't have to be big. Second thing, find one thing to do for the week. And what I did when I was in the workplace, I'm starting this back up, but what I did while I was in the workplace, I ended up having lunch with either someone inside our company or outside our company. And that role, that function led me usually to have lunch with, or coffee, or dinner, or just a sit-down discussion with someone possibly 2 levels higher than me.
Coffee chats are really big in the world of work. So I feel like those are easy wins to get those right off the bat.
And what that does is it gives you conversation and perspective from other people that are doing things that are a stretch for you. And that's the challenge. I would say get with someone who will challenge your stretchability. And so those are the things that we would do that will keep your mind out of comparison and on you.
Thanks for being a part of the discussion today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. I know I definitely need a reminder of it pretty often.
Hit that subscribe button. We want you to hear more about what we're going to talk about with the jobs report and more ideas about how to keep you in the right frame of mind and out of the comparison mode, moving forward with your next level trajectory.
We're excited.